this issue, and he cares about what was happening to those little girls and all those children at the hands of these terrorists, because Democrats wanted to use those human beings as political pawns. Never again. And we're not going to have to worry about that. We have Tom Homan at the board. Nobody's crossing, nobody's getting home, and you'll be home for Christmas, Tom Homan.
I don't do polling either because I don't give a shit what people think. The reason the schools are so terrible in California is because government business sucks. You want to become a wrestler? I'm not going to wrestle in this house. I'm my little sister. So look, if I offend anybody here tonight, I always say that if I offend anybody tonight, I don't care. I don't care. I stopped caring a long time ago. My wife asked me all the time, does the body when these hit pieces come out, does the body do that? There's a lot of people in this country who hate you. Nope. So if they knew what I knew, they'd understand me. Most would agree with me. If they didn't agree with me, then they're just terrible people. So where are we at? Look, I'm going to tell you a story. Everybody, I grew up in a town of 2,500 people, right? I grew up milking cows. If I wanted money, my dad said, go make money. But I never got an ounce. So I went and milked cows. I went down the fourth drum to shine boots on the weekends at 50 cents a pair. Had a hell of a business going. I grew up in a town 4 miles on the fourth drum, patriotic town, American flag on every porch. It was just Veterans Day was the biggest day in that little village, and I had a blessing of childhood, and that's the America I want back. It's the America I grew up in. The America you all grew up in. You all look just about my age, some younger, but that's the America President Trump wants to bring back. So how do I go from West Carthage, New York, to the West Wing? It's a hell of a trip. So in 2016. Before the election, I announced my retirement. I was 30 commander ranks. And I was convinced Hillary Clinton was going to win. And after 8 years of Obama, it says, I've had enough of this shit. I'm going to retire. And I announced my retirement before the election. And I gave 6 months to replace me because the head of enforcement move operation, which is the head of the deportation operation, is a very controversial job. It's a lot of hate comes to that job. You get death threats, you get, people coming home, and it's ridiculous. So I gave him 6 months notice before the election. Well, the morning after the election, I wake up. My wife says, hey, come on, I'll be going to do it. And I told her, it's a true story. I said, well, they're already looking for my replacement. I already signed a contract with this company that can help a lot more than get advice. So, and that made her happy. So I got to stick with the plan. In January, it was my retirement party. We had several hundred people there. It was the saddest day of my life. It was the saddest day of my life because you wear a badge and gun, and the cops in this room, you understand me. When you're a cop for 30, 40 years, and that day you're going to hang out. I was going to walk out of that building with no badge, no weapon. I was going to be a civilian. And that was the saddest day of my life. Because when you do that for so long, it becomes a big part of who you are. So at the end of the ceremony, it was a great ceremony. I got a lot of cool gifts, and I was a good part of it. But at the end of the ceremony, I was standing in the hall with my wife, shaking hands with people that come. And Jackie, I don't know if it's you, but somebody walked up to me and said, you have an emergency phone call in the office. My empty office, because my shit's already backed up in my garage. So I thought this is a Friday, I was trying to do a job in London. So I walk up to my empty office, I picked the phone up. And it was Secretary John Kelly. He goes, Tom, I know this. Before I went up, my wife said, what do you think this is? So I don't know. So I said, who is it? John Kelly. I said, he couldn't make me, he probably wouldn't congratulate me. He wished me long retirement. I went up, picked the phone up with Tom, and this may be bad timing, but the president wants you to unretire. He wants you to run the agency. And I said, sir, it is bad timing, I just retired. He goes, no, you didn't, papers on my desk, I haven't signed it. True story, I told him, look, sir, in all due respect, I signed the contract, this contract, I don't know, legal obligations on, and my wife, my kid, my wife went through hell, and we moved so many times, and death threats, and protests, and they paid an awful price, and it says, I need to talk to my family. He goes, okay, well, this Friday, I'll probably owe $600 million. And he goes, well, let me leave you with a thought. And I know this word for word. He says, the President of the United States, Tom, is asking you, a career law enforcement officer, to serve the country a little bit longer. Tom, you need your help. Call you on Monday. So, I drive home, my wife said, what's the phone call on? I told her. She goes, hell no. I said, hey, the President of the United States goes, I don't give a shit, I don't like him. And fast forward, she thinks he was the greatest president in history of this nation because she got to see what he did. But she hated him at the moment. So we went home and we fought all weekend. And Sunday night, and I called the company up, let her know. They said, well, yeah, we'll redo the contract when you retire as a director. You'd be worth more money then. So yeah, we'll take the number 1 rather than number 3. We'll let you out the contract. I said, great. So Sunday night, I'm laying in bed, and my wife says, what are you going to do? I said, what do you think I'm going to do? Because you don't do it. I said, yes. Because I knew you would. That's the man I married. So the next morning, 0600, John Carter called me and says, well, I said, let's do this. He goes, okay, well, turn your phone off for a while, so I'm announcing in about an hour. And of course, I turned my phone off and turned on there that night to hundreds of texts. So I showed up at the ICE office the next morning. To the amazement of hundreds of people who gave me great gifts. I walked up into my office, the director's office. I walk in there, and there's 4 attorneys, ethics attorneys. And they said, Mr. Homan, we got a list of every gift you got on Friday. You need to return them all. So not all your employees. And they says, and you know, what's the gun and all these things. He says, and you leave your wife a $500 gift certificate. I said, guys, I'll write you a check because she's already pissed off I'm standing here. I'm not going to ask her for that check back. She probably already spent it. So I said, let me just write you a check down. Very next day, I'm at Air Force One, the greatest president of my lifetime, Donald Trump.
Yes.
He took off. They called me up to the Secret Service, come back, said the president wants to see in his office. I went to his office. I asked him, first time I met the man. And he shook my hand. I said, what are my marching orders? He goes, enforce the damn law. That has been enforced in 8 years. Enforce the law, make this country safe again. That was my marching orders. That was it. That was the end of the conversation. I walked out and I did what I did. The second time, I've been retired, Biden administration. I woke up pissed off for 4 years straight. Well, he did the most security. I had my own business, own my own consulting. I was doing very, very well on finance. And right after the election, I was the first guy president from college. I'm sitting at dinner with my wife. My phone rings, sitting on the table, and it says POTUS. She looks at me and says, oh shit. She goes, is he calling? I said, I'll tell my son to take your phone call. My mom picked the phone, goes, Tommy, it's your all-time favorite president. He says I never call him. I said, yes, sir. He goes, well, you've been bitching about it for 4 years. You want to come back and fix it? I said, yes. So I took my again. The kid was right. The president, he goes, I want you to do 3 things. I want you to close the border, shut the border down, secure it. I want you to run the biggest deportation operation we've ever seen. And I want you to find these children. That is what I want you to do. I said, yes, sir. I'm going back to my wife. She looked at me and says, the remodeling stops immediately. Went back to government paycheck. And I said, are you mad? She goes, no. because you've been bitching, waking up every day, pissed off at the world for 4 years. And if you don't go back, you'll be waking up tomorrow pissed off at the world because you didn't go back. So go back or we're going to get divorced. Go back and do this wrong. So God bless you. And the sad part about it, I'm not living with her right now. She lives in a different place because of death threats. But she gets it. She understands it. You're not going to shut me down. You're not going to shut me up. I'm not going anywhere. My wife gets it. She's with me 100%. She loves our president. She loves our country. We're going to sacrifice what we have to do to make this country safe again. My first threat came right after the RNC, where I stood on stage at the RNC, and I said President Trump would designate the cartels as terrorist organizations, and he will wipe them off the face of the earth. The very next day, the threat started coming in, and I've said to the cartels, you want some, come get some, because you're not shutting me up, we're not going to stop them. Security detail said, you really have to say that? It's like, you can't let these guys intimidate. You're not going to intimidate the President of the United States. Well, you're not going to intimidate me. We're doing the right thing for the American people. The terrorist organizations in Mexico and Central America have killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world. They've killed more Americans than any war that we've ever had. So they absolutely need to be terrorists. And mark my word, President Trump will wipe them off the face of the earth. Where are we at? Where are we at? Today, as I'm talking to you, we have the most secure border in the history of this nation. The first meeting, President, how long will it take to secure the border? It's 120 days, sir. He goes, no. Need better. In faster than that, all you expect 120 days pretty quick, considering all the bullshit they pulled the last 4 years. So let's do it. Put it in that. So the men and women in Border Patrol secured that border in 7 weeks. They've been 7 weeks for Biden 4 years. 7 weeks that lockdown. 7 weeks the little crossings are down 90%. God bless the men and women in Border Patrol. Love you. I just went last week. I was a board choice back in 1984, so we made a trip to San Diego to speak to the board patrol leadership. I went to my old station, Campo Station, in the San Diego sector on top of the mountain there. I went to my old station, and I realized that day how old I was. Because I'm looking at all these board choices and I said, look at kids. And, they all got a phone that does everything. Now I'm going to make a phone call, run criminal record checks, take fingerprints. And I told them, I said, when I was an agent, we processed animal and hood of land chart. You had to press hard enough to go through 5 carbon copies to make it legible. I says, we had one typewriter, and then every time you push a O or Q, it punches a hole through the paper, and you just trying to get pissed off over that. I said, you guys have to pay all this technology. It was great meeting with the men and women board patrols. I promised them, when I retired the first time, I promised them, even though I'm retiring, I'll always have your 6. If you remember the board patrol ice, I'll always love you. I'll always have your 6 and support you to the day I die, because I was a board patrol agent. I was an ICE agent. I was the first ICE director that actually came up through the ranks. So the 20,000 men and women that worked for me, I didn't ask them to do anything. I did myself. God bless them. I love these men and women. They're the finest 1% this country has. And they're out there making this country safe again every day. We have the most secure border in history of this nation, better than Trump 45. And the data proves it. And for instance, under Joe Biden, we had crossings 10,000, 11,000 days. Some days got to 15,000. You know what they were yesterday? 86. Yeah. 86. I shouldn't really say crossing. We got about 2 feet in. need to be returned. No one's being released from this border. Now the dad is just, every morning when detail picks me up, I'm on the way to White House, I read about 22 pages on my phone of the last 24 hours of data. And the data is just, even I'm amazed. Illegal immigration is down 96%. So there's been studies out there about, the whole transportation corridor. And nonpartisan groups have said 31% of women that make that journey through cartels get raped by members of the cartel. 31% of women admit it. So how many actually get raped? How many aren't admitted, right? So for 4 years, I literally woke up, because I take this personal. 4 years I woke up, and everything what I thought of, how many women got raped last night on that open border? How many kids died tonight on that open border? And I gave speeches during that 4 years, and I told them, like I would tell you tonight, thank God I don't have to say this to you, I would tell the audience, tonight a child will die in the water. The child died in it. Child will drown in the river, or they'll die from exhaustion, or they'll die at the hands of criminal cartels who will sexually rape children. I've talked to little girls as young as 9, that were raped multiple times by members of the cartel. And when you get on your knees, you talk to a little girl that's had that happen to her. You look in her eyes, and everything innocent and pure has been ripped to that little girl. That pissed me off every morning, because I knew what happened that night. I knew someone died that night, women got raped that night, no one suspected terrorists crossed the border that night, pounds of fentanyl crossed the border that night that killed 250,000 Americans during that administration. They say the Trump administration was inhumane. Biden administration much more humane. Bullshit. Under President Biden, over 4,000 animals died making that journey. Historic record. 250,000 Americans died from fentanyl across the open border. Historic record. 600% increase in sex trafficking of women and children. Under Trump 45, we had 12 people on the terrorist watch list crossed. Biden had over 400. So you're damn right. Every day I woke up pissed off because I held that children. I've talked to little girls that were raped. And everything, and her eyes are just blank. She has no faith in humanity. Her life is over. Even though she's alive, her life's over. So every day I would wake up pissed off. I took it personal. So people always ask me, when you go testify for Congress, why do you yell? Because I'm pissed. Why do I get angry when I'm on Fox News? Because I'm pissed for 4 years. So when I got that phone call from Trump, that's the greatest day of my life. The men and women of the Border Patrol being attacked every day by the far left who just don't, the men and women of the Border Patrol, the only humane thing on that border are the men and women of the Border Patrol. Right. Because I've been there, Chip Roy's been there. I watched Border Patrolmen jump into the river with 60 pounds of gear on to save an illegal alien drowning. I was there when an illegal alien come across in the boat with a family, and the Border Patrol's approaching them. What did they do? They threw their family in the river that couldn't swim because they knew the Border Patrol would stop chasing them and try to rescue the family. Border Patrol agents brought toys home from their own kids to the facility so the illegal alien children had something to play with. They took sicknesses home to their family every day. TB was rampant. The men and women of the Border Patrol are moms and dads too, and it pisses me off when I see people attacking them. Because they got to remember, whether it's Border Patrol or ICE, they're mothers and fathers too. They don't hang their heart on the hook when they go to work. They see us. Sometimes I lose a little bit because of the tragedies I've seen. I'm doing better now. But they see this shit every day. The last 4 years. Well, guess what? They're not giving CPR to babies right now. They're not dragging dead bodies on the river right now because of President Trump and his leadership. So where's ICE now? Okay, so border security. Most secure. We've got a little more work to do. We got to build some more border wall. We got some more water buoys. We got to get Congress to make a permanent fix to the next Democrat president will come in and undo our success that Biden did. Biden was the first president in the history of this nation who unsecured the border on purpose. I worked for 6 presidents down around Reagan. Every president I worked for, even Clinton and Obama, took steps to secure the border. They did. Because they understood you can't have strong national security going border security. We didn't know who's coming and what's coming and why it's coming and where it's coming. They didn't do an awful lot. They tried. No one did better than President Trump. His success is unprecedented. But Joe Biden's the first president in the history of the nation who came into office and unsecured a border on purpose. Yeah. Not by accident, not by incompetence, not by mismanagement. He did it by design. Yeah. They knew exactly what they were doing. And I'm asked all the time, why did they do such a thing? Because they saw future political power in doing what they did. Whether they think they're future Democratic voters or they also overturn the Trump census rules, so millions of illegal aliens in sanctuary cities that count in the next census, which results in more seats in the House with advantage. They sold this country out for future political power, and in my opinion, that's treasonous. Let's take this back when I'm sick and tired of reading the media that ICE is arresting mostly non-criminals. Again, I look at the data every morning. So about 70% of everybody ICE is arresting are criminals. Who are the other 30%? National security threats. We arrested thousands of national security threats. Hell, I think we arrested over 3,000 Iranians in the last couple months. So we don't have much national security threats. Most national security threats don't have a criminal history. They're laying low. Who's the rest? Gang members. A lot of gang members don't have criminal history. And who's the rest? Final order cases. These are people who had due process at great taxpayer expense. The federal judge ordered them removed. They didn't leave. They became a fugitive. Guess what? They're going home too. So we're arresting them. So other non-criminals and other illegal alien non-criminals we're arresting? Yeah. Because they're here illegally. And nothing in the immigration law says you got to commit yet another crime other than entering the country illegally to be arrested. Alejandro Mayorkas, the last secretary, disgusting individual. He told ICE law enforcement officers, you can't arrest somebody for being in the country illegally. You can't enforce. They got to be convicted of a serious crime before you even attempt to target them for arrest. He told ICE officers, ignore the OTTEP, ignore what federal law says. We're not doing it. We're enforcing the law. Where do we arrest most non-criminal, non-targets? In sanctuary cities. And why is that? Because they won't give us the bad guy in jail. They release them back in the community, which means now we got to go to the community and find that person. And when we find them, many times they're with others. Others in the country are illegally, but not a criminal target. But guess what? They're coming too. So sanctuary cities, you think they're hurting us? Sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals, first of all. Yep. All we want is access to the jail. Or you lock somebody up in a jail cell. You lock them up. Apparently he's a public safety threat. You lock him and put him in a jail cell. He's illegally in the country. Let us have him when you're done with him. But they'd rather release him to the street to reoffend, which is dangerous for the public, dangerous for my officers, and dangerous for the alien himself, because anything can happen on a street arrest. Rather than giving a public safety threat the safety and security of the jail behind the wire where we know there's no weapons, they much rather release them back in the community. Releasing public safety threats back in the public is just stupid. Then you got these sanctuary mayors and governors that say, well, we're a sanctuary city because we're a welcoming community. We want illegal aliens, victims and witnesses of crime, to feel comfortable reporting crime to the police without fear of working with ICE. That's bullshit. Victims and witnesses of crime don't want the bad guy in their neighborhood either. That's common sense. So sanctuary cities are going to get exactly what they don't want. More agents in the neighborhood, more collateral arrests, more worksite investigations. If we can't find them in the community, we'll find them at the worksite. They all got jobs. So congratulations. Now they're bitching about it. Well, hang on tight, because you ain't seen anything yet. President Trump committed, we're going to prioritize sanctuary cities. I agree 100%. We talked about it. Why? Because we know there's a problem. We know they're releasing public safety threats every day. It's like sending the firemen to the biggest fire. That's what we're doing. It's not because of blue. It's because they're sanctuary cities and they're releasing criminals every hour. So that's where we're going. That's where we're going to flood the zone. And of course, the media hated that. I threw that up on month. How dare you say flood the zone? Damn right, I said it. I meant that. Don't do it. And that's what we're doing. So, Brandon Johnson, right after the election, Brandon Johnson said, Tom Homan is not welcome in Chicago. Well, I was there 2 days later. One day in Chicago, I kicked off the operation. I'm busy. But I went to the first day and then and said, Kimo, pep talk, let's go do this. I went out with a team. And one day in Chicago, we arrested 9 child sexual predators. 9 illegal aliens that raped children walking the street. We arrested, I think, 7 TDA members. 2 of the TDA members were selling pistols with a switch, which makes that pistol fully automatic. Some with other gang members. We arrested 2 illegal aliens that were convicted of murder. And that's in one day. And you got Pritzker, who's numbered in boxer rocks. And you got Mayor Johnson. He doesn't want our help making their city safe. And one day we make Chicago safer. Every day ICE agents make the community safer because every public safety threat, every national security threat we arrest makes that community safer. It's simple math. But they hate President Trump more than they love their communities. There's no other reason. I can't think why would you not join forces with us? I'm not asking you to be immigration officers. I'm asking for your cops, we'll work with our cops to take criminals off the street. Leave the immigration work to me. But help us with the criminals. For God's sake. So sanctuary cities do slow us down. I don't have that problem in Florida. Governor DeSantis passed a law. Every sheriff and chief has to work with us, or they lose your job. That's what Governor DeSantis did. Governor Rabbit passed legislation where 2017 is mandatory. I don't have that problem in Texas. Well, maybe also. God help us. So we're going to send the forces where they need to be at. And guess what? We're hiring 10,000 new agents. If you think they're doing good now, just wait to see what happens in the coming year. Left's going to be pissed off. Actually, I like that. Every day there's a hippie sign saying something terrible about me, and again, I don't give a shit. People think. But I'm 63 years old. I get tired. And when I'm on the way to work, I read the hippies. That just throws gas in my fire, so I'm good for a couple of days. So actually enjoy it sometimes, I wish I wouldn't threaten my family. That's going beyond. Threaten, you want to break all the hippies you like. I honestly don't care. Because I know they're doing the right thing. And they're not going to win this. I'm working for who I think is one of the best presidents in the history of this nation. And I wake up every day with a kid in the candy store because I know I'm going to go to work and I'm going to do great things. And for a kid from a small town West Gardens, he's sitting down the hall from the president every day. And let him telling me, do what you got to do. That's the best job in the world. Numbers right now, total repatriations since January 20th, the day of inauguration. Katrina board till nice, we're about 387,000. We'll hit over 400,000. Considering we not count the first 4 months because Biden didn't do shit. But if you consider 8 months, they're pretty good damn numbers. But we got about 5,000 deportation officers compared to 20 million illegal aliens. It's not 12 million like the media says. 10.5 came across during Biden. We had 50 million before they got here. So anybody says there's less than 20 million, they don't know what they're talking about. But because of President Trump and ICE, 1.6 million people have left this country on their own. So we already did that direct deportation operation. Did it on their own. We didn't have to look up paper. Other than threatening them that we're going to find you, we're going to remove you. Rob left them alone. And we're going to continue doing this. So 5,000 agents compared to 20 million, you're overwhelmed. Now we're going triple the force, we're going from 5,000 to 15,000. So if you think the numbers are good now, wait to see what happens next year. If we promise a massive deportation operation, I promise you, you're going to get it. If you're in the country illegally, you should be looking over your shoulder. It's not okay to enter this country illegally, it's a crime. It's not okay to be illegally. No one hires an illegal alien out of the goodness of their heart. They work them harder, pay them less, and undercut the compensation of U.S. citizen employees. I know this for a fact. I put a roof in my house 2 years ago. I had to call 5 different companies, so I got a company to guarantee me legal workforce. Well, I told them I'd arrest every one of them. And while they're coming to me, this older man showed up, him and his son. He said, well, I was hoping we'd do a repair rather than replace. I said, no, this is not damage, right? I'm going to replace it. And he told me a story on stage, because he recognized, he told me a story. You know, I had a company with 20 U.S. citizen employees. I was paying them $20, $25 an hour to get in the room. But I couldn't win a bid. Because all these countries had illegal aliens were paying them $5, $7 to get on the roof. I couldn't win a bid. I couldn't win a bid, so I had to lay off these 20 U.S. citizen employees. And now me and my son just too small to clear. That happens every day, 1,000 times a day across this country. So that's why we're stepping up our enforcement. And we're going to continue doing it. It needs to be done. The message we send to the whole world is that you can enter the country and make legal as a crime. Just don't commit another crime, and no one's looking for you. You're never going to solve the problem. I mean, when President Biden says you can enter the country legally, don't worry about it. You're going to be released in 24 hours. We'll put you in a free hotel room. We'll give you 3 meals a day. We'll give you free medical care. And in 90 or 120 days, we'll even give you work authorization, which is the real reason you came here. The whole world came. I saw that coming from a mile away. I wrote an op-ed in Fox News 6 months before the election. I said, Joe Biden wins, we lose the border. And I was right. We can't send that message. And I keep hearing this, the left saying, we're deporting U.S. citizens. We haven't deported a single U.S. citizen, it's illegal. Now, have U.S. citizen children left with their parents? Yeah. I'm keeping families together. If you come to this country and you're here illegally, you got the ordinary room, you decide to hide out for a few years and have U.S. citizen child, that does not make you immune from our laws. Okay, you get a citizen child, forget it. You can stay. If that's the message we send to the whole world, you're never going to fix this shit. Yeah. The next administration comes, we lose the war again. We got to send a message to the whole world. There's a right way and wrong way to come to the greatest nation on earth. And while they say these people are asylum seekers, here's something you need to know. Oh, these are asylum seekers. They're seeking asylum. Here's what we look at the immigration court data over the last decade. 9 out of 10 people claim asylum on the border end up with an order removal. Because they're not escaping fear and persecution from the homeland because of race, religion, political affiliation. They come here for a better life, but that's not asylum. So 9 out of 10 end up with an order removal. And they're going home. I wish, when Mayorkas testified, I think Chip may have asked that, when Mayorkas testified, he said, well, I know we're all in immigration enforcement procedures. The follow-up question should have been, was this 9 out of 10 will end up order removed? Do you think they should be deported immediately? But you can't have due process that, if at the end of that due process, you just ignore the decision. There's no due process there. If that's the way we're going to do it, and just ignore the decision of the court, then screw it. Take the border control from the border. Shut down the immigration court, because the final words don't mean anything anymore. No, we're a nation of laws. You want due process? We'll give you due process. But when that decision is made, that decision is going to be executed. That's what due process means. And that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. Woo!
I told the president from day one, the hardest thing that you gave me, I knew we secured the border. We did in 45, just brush off the game plan, and the border patrol agents were aching to do it. They've been being tourist agents and Uber drivers for 4 years. So they're just aching to get that. I knew securing the border would get that done. I thought I was going to try to get it done. Mass deportation operation, Congress gave us the money. people in this room, Jim Roy was the tip of the spear. We got the big beautiful bill. We got more money now than we've ever had. So we want to do that. Give us the resources, give us the plans, give us the agents, give us the detention beds. And by the way, we need 100,000 beds, and I'm not going to shut for getting 100,000 beds. Give us the resources to do it. Well, I told them, the president, the children are going to be the hardest. Because according to whistleblowers and the things that I've seen, nearly 500,000 children were smuggled in this country, separated from their families with hands of criminal cartels. If I leave my kid in the car and run to get a pack of cigarettes, I get arrested. Well, they can put their kids in the hands of criminal cartels and have them smuggled into the country. Who knows what happens to some of these kids in the hands of these cartels? Because I know what happens to some of them. Administration releasing unvetted sponsors. On the Trump administration, we did DNA. You're the parent? Okay, prove it. We did DNA. They didn't do it. Well, they released some unvetted sponsors. They didn't check the addresses. Matter of fact, the data I just like the other day, over 1,700 children under the age of 12 were released to unrelated sponsors that had no background home check. God help those children. There's been a case where one man had, they gave him custody of 20 children, mostly young girls. God help them. So I told him, so I can find you. They can find me. We own homes, we have cars, we pay credit card bills, we pay utility bills. We can find you. You got a digital footprint. Children don't have that digital footprint. So we got to count on the digital footprint of sponsors. We know the sponsors weren't vetted properly, they weren't screened right. And a lot of the information they gave us was wrong. They weren't even fingerprinted. So a lot of the addresses we're going to right now are supermarkets, libraries, and parking lots. The SAC, the Special Agent in Charge of Dallas, asked me today, I met them this morning. I said, out of all the addresses you've been to, how many were actual addresses where the child was? 3%. So yeah, I'm pissed off. So we're taking this seriously, and as of right now, we found about 24,000. Many of them were staying with parents, just hiding out, they don't report it. But many were in sex trafficking. Many were in forced labor. 27 are dead. Some of these girls were forced into sexual slavery, disease, pregnant children. But we rescued a lot of children. We rescued children that the Biden administration didn't look for. It all tracked the 300,000 what they do about economic damage. Because their number one mission, whether it's the border or whether it's children, was process quickly, release quickly, because there's no overcrowding. Black students can't capture shit. That administration is the most inhumane administration in the history of this nation. Right, we're working on that. We rescued 24,000 children. We have currently prosecuting 400 of those sponsors. 6 sons of bitches. Prosecuting. And we're not going to stop until we run every single week down and try to find every one of these kids. That, I give you my word.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm tired. I get irritated. I'm tired of it. But I wake up every day full of fire, especially every day at peace, because I know we're going to rescue more children. I know when 96% of those people cross that border, how many women are being raped? How many children are dying? President Trump saving thousands of lives every week. We're saving thousands of lives. Even the border wall saves lives. I told that before. Women and children can't get over that wall, which means they go to a place without a wall. And what's waiting them? Men and women are angry. So if you see boards raising, thank you. See a nice agent, thank you. And to the members of Congress, not in this room, that want to compare ICE to Nazis and racists, you're an embarrassment to the position you hold. Is up 1,000%. They're being doxxed, their spouses are being doxxed, their children are being doxxed. That's why they wear masks. I don't like masks either. But they're trying to protect their families. And a lot of it's because of rhetoric on Capitol Hill, from the out of control, open border Democrats who want to call them Nazis and racists for enforcing the laws that they broke. Enforcing the laws that they appropriate them funding to do. They're disgusting. Crockett, disgusting. AOC, disgusting. Jay Paul, disgusting. You want to call vice racist? You're an embarrassment. You're an embarrassment, and you want to go? Let's go. Because the men and women of Christ wake up every day, go into dangerous neighborhoods to arrest people that don't want to be arrested in our public safety address. Tonight, you'll all be sleeping, well, most of you. 2 or 3 o'clock this morning, you're laying in your bed sleeping. There's thousands of mortgage ladies standing on a dirt trail someplace, answering the call. A sensor went off. What's that sensor? Is it a illegal alien for a better life? Or is it heavily on drugs? They don't know that we'll stand in that dirt trail and take it out and years back at 20 months away. I know that I did. Plenty of times I sat in that trail shaking my hands. The men and women at work who are there every day, 24/7, defending this nation. God knows. And God, you, by being in this room, I know you're a patriot. By being in this room, you're a patriot. God bless you. God bless the men and women at work. God bless President Trump. And God bless this great country that I love so much. Thank you.